She walked into the station alone. No entourage, no legal team, no designer handbag or carefully curated smile. Just Doria Ragland, silent, composed, and clutching a worn folder with trembling fingers. At first, the officers thought she was reporting a fraud against her eldercare business. But what spilled from her lips left the entire precinct breathless. "It's about Meghan," she said, "and King Charles's money." Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. That sentence, quiet, almost whispered, set off alarms from Los Angeles to London. How did we get here? For years, Doria has been the quiet shadow behind Meghan Markle's meteoric rise. While Meghan was walking red carpets, navigating royal corridors, and sitting across from Oprah Winfrey, Doria remained in the background. The yoga teacher, the spiritual anchor, the innocent mom from Crenshaw. Right? Wrong. At least, according to a rapidly unfolding police investigation and a confession that reads like a royal thriller. In that confession, Doria didn't just claim to be a pawn. She said she was used, knowingly or not, to help move large amounts of money. Money that allegedly came from the royal accounts. Money that was supposed to be sealed off when Prince Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties. Money that, if traced, could prove Meghan never really let go of the crown. Let that sink in for a moment. Could Meghan Markle, the self-proclaimed advocate of independence and female empowerment, have been secretly siphoning royal funds through her own mother's company? And here's the part that will knock the breath out of you. The company in question wasn't a glitzy charity or a flashy Hollywood venture. It was an eldercare business, quiet, understated, supposedly local. A business nobody ever really looked at. Until now. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered how Meghan and Harry managed to fund their Montecito mansion, private jets, and massive security detail after declaring they were financially cut off? Sure, there were the Netflix and Spotify deals, but even those don't explain the millions that moved through accounts far before the ink dried on those contracts. This story matters right now because the royal family, especially King Charles, is reportedly reopening old audits and financial transfers. According to royal insiders, red flags were raised when a dormant Sussex-linked account was reactivated around the same time Doria's company received a massive cash injection. Coincidence? Or something far more calculated? And why would Doria come forward now? Why walk into a police station when she could have kept quiet? Is she trying to protect Meghan? Or protect herself? What we know is just the beginning. Because what Doria handed over to the police was more than a statement. It was a confession, with names, dates, codes, and one specific transfer marked with the initials KC. That's right, King Charles. But what exactly did Doria reveal in those chilling pages? What connection does her eldercare company have to the missing millions? And how did Meghan Markle manage to operate a hidden financial pipeline, all while smiling in front of cameras, playing the role of victim? The answers lie in the chapters ahead. What if the biggest royal money trail wasn't hidden offshore, but in a sleepy California suburb, behind a yoga mat and a few smiling headshots? Doria Ragland's eldercare company wasn't even on the radar. It wasn't a high-profile nonprofit. No billboards. No flashy website. Just a paper trail of soft branding, vague mission statements, and, according to investigators, millions of dollars flowing through accounts no one expected to look at. Now ask yourself this. Why would an eldercare business, registered to a modest office in South LA, receive massive wire transfers from entities connected to the UK Royal Treasury? That's the question the LAPD couldn't answer. But Doria could, and that's why she walked in. Let's rewind. Years ago, shortly before Meghan's royal wedding, Doria quietly registered her business. On the surface, it looked respectable. Community-focused eldercare, services for vulnerable seniors, affordable care. But insiders say the company never hired more than 2 full-time employees. No marketing. No invoices from real clients. Just movement. Money in. Very little money out. What's worse? The company listed multiple service locations across California that, when reporters visited, didn't even exist. Sounds like a shell, right? But here's the emotional twist. One former family friend of Doria said she truly believed the company was created with good intentions. Doria had a background in social work. She had experience with caregiving. Maybe it started off as something real. something rooted in purpose. But purpose doesn't explain the $2.4 million in bank activity across just 14 months. One of the most bizarre discoveries came when a whistleblower handed over internal banking statements showing sudden injections of cash, each time Meghan and Harry faced public financial scrutiny. After the infamous Oprah interview, $275,000 appears in the Eldercare account. After the palace removed security support, another $600,000, wired from a UK-based trust previously linked to Charles's private charitable fund. Coincidence? Or something more orchestrated? Here's where things get darker. Some of the elderly clients listed as receiving services had passed away years before Doria's company was even formed. It wasn't just a paper trail. It was a ghost trail. But when investigators finally cross-checked the largest deposit and traced the origin of that money, they didn't find a random donor. They found something shocking. An account with a royal code designation. A code that matched internal palace financial logs. And initials, KC. That's when the red tape burned away. That's when the palace phones started ringing. But what came next wasn't a legal rebuttal. It was silence. Silence from Meghan. Silence from Harry. And then, Doria made her move. She didn't wait for them to cover their tracks. She walked in with a folder. Because she knew what was coming. But what did she give them? And what royal name was scribbled, twice, inside that confidential ledger? You thought the financial ties between Meghan and the monarchy were severed the day she and Harry stepped down? Think again. Because according to Doria's confession and new financial disclosures, Meghan may have kept a back door open. One that was hidden in plain sight and dripping with royal gold. Let's unpack this. Shortly after their bombshell exit from the royal family in early 2020, Meghan and Harry went on a media blitz. Oprah, Netflix, podcasts. The narrative was clear. They were cut off. No security, no funding. They were forced, they claimed, to make multi-million-dollar deals just to survive. And the world believed it. But here's the twist. Doria told police that Meghan already had access to funds. Long before the Spotify deal, long before Netflix, long before any streaming camera rolled. And these weren't just savings. These were redirected royal allocations. How? According to sources close to the investigation, Meghan retained access to a Sussex-linked charitable vehicle, one that King Charles had approved back when the couple was still in favor. It was supposed to be shut down when they left the UK, but someone forgot to flip the switch. Or maybe someone chose not to. Here's where it gets sticky. One of Meghan's former aides, a name the royal family has tried to bury in recent years, is mentioned in Doria's statement as the handler who facilitated overseas transfers. That aide once worked inside Clarence's house. And after transitioning to Meghan's team, they allegedly retained knowledge of the royal payment system. Think about it. Who better to reroute small, seemingly unnoticeable funds than someone who used to help manage them? And here's where the emotional gut punch lands. A former palace accountant, speaking under condition of anonymity, said, "We thought we were funding security for a young family. We didn't know we were padding someone's personal projects." According to financial trail data, at least 3 transfers occurred over the course of 18 months, all under the guise of international protection reimbursements. 2 of those ended up in the account linked to Doria's company. And you know what's more chilling? Every transfer happened on or near key public flashpoints. When Meghan claimed she felt unsafe in the UK, a deposit landed the next day. When Harry publicly said, "My father stopped taking my calls," another chunk of money left a dormant royal account. Is this all coincidence? Or was there a plan? A pipeline? A leak in the crown? But here's where Doria's statement flipped the room upside down. Because when the detective asked her if Meghan knew about the source of the money, Doria didn't hesitate. "She arranged it," she said. "She told me it was a favor. That Charles owed her." Owed her? For what? And then she pulled something out of her bag that made every officer pause. A photo. A black and white image. An envelope taped behind it. Inside, a key. And a note that read, "To be used in case everything falls apart." What did that key unlock? You're not ready. It happened on a Tuesday. No cameras. No headlines. Just the sound of sliding glass doors and the slow, measured footsteps of a mother ready to speak the truth, even if it meant taking down her own daughter. Doria Ragland walked into the Los Angeles Police Department and asked to speak to Detective L. Ramirez. No appointment. No legal team. Just a quiet voice, a trembling hand, and a folder full of secrets. She looked like she hadn't slept in days, one officer said. But there was this calm. Like she was done hiding. The moment she sat down, she didn't wait for questions. She didn't ask for protection. She just started talking. "It's Meghan," she said. "I have to clear my conscience before it's too late." What followed was a confession that left officers in stunned silence. Doria admitted she allowed Meghan to use her eldercare company to hold funds, though at first, she believed it was legal. Meghan allegedly told her the money was part of a trust settlement from the Crown, that it was due to her as compensation for the damage the monarchy had done to her reputation. But Doria's voice cracked when she admitted she started to question it after the second transfer. "She told me not to ask questions," Doria reportedly said. "That it was handled, that the money was already hers." Handled. That word came up repeatedly in the statement. But nothing was handled, not even close. Because when British investigators discreetly reached out to U.S. authorities following financial red flags in the royal audits, it was Doria's name, not Meghan's, that popped up in the trail. And that's when it all came crashing down. Emotionally exhausted, Doria confessed she had lied on several official filings at Meghan's instruction. "I didn't know how deep it went," she said. "I just wanted to help my daughter. But it got bigger fast." But here's the part that chilled officers to their core. Doria said Meghan had warned her months ago, "If they ever come asking, say you don't know anything. If you do, it'll all fall on you." That was the turning point. Because for the first time, Doria realized she wasn't being protected, she was being positioned to take the fall. So she did something no one expected. She reached into her purse, pulled out a small black notebook, and slid it across the table. On the cover, a single word. Transfers. Inside, names, bank codes, dates, and tucked into the back cover, a Montecito delivery receipt signed not by Meghan, but by a private courier company linked to a known royal legal handler. And there was one final page. Blank, except for a hand-drawn crown. And two words beneath it. Her insurance. Whose insurance? What was it meant to protect? Or more chilling, who was it meant to bring down? She thought she was protecting her daughter. That's how Doria Ragland justified it at first. A few accounts. A couple transfers. A little favor for someone who had already been dragged through the mud by the British press, the palace, and the public. But now, in the glow of police station lights and under the weight of her own words, Doria realized she had crossed a line. Not just into legal territory, into something darker. She had unknowingly become the key player in a web of secrets that stretched from Montecito to the monarchy. And maybe the worst part? Meghan knew. The woman who once told the world she never felt safe under the crown may have been building her own kingdom, funded by the very man she accused of cutting her off. And now, the royal walls are starting to crack. King Charles has reportedly launched a private investigation into all dormant Sussex financial instruments. According to insiders at Clarence House, the term criminal fraud is now being whispered behind closed doors. But it's not just the money trail that matters. It's the emotional one. What happens when a mother realizes her child has used her, not for protection, but for plausible deniability? What happens when loyalty becomes liability? And what happens when that mother decides to do the unthinkable, turn in her own daughter? There's a reason Doria didn't call Meghan before walking into that police station. She knew Meghan would try to stop her. She knew that after years of silence, this one move could bring everything crashing down. But she did it anyway. Because according to one source, her final words in that interview were chilling. "I'm not going to prison for Meghan. Not after what she's done. Let that settle for a moment." Doria Ragland, the soft-spoken, gentle-faced woman who once held Meghan's hand at her royal wedding, is now the one pulling the string that could unravel everything. And Meghan? Radio silent. No press statements. No legal threats, yet. But the palace is watching. So is the IRS. So is Scotland Yard. So what comes next? More interviews. More subpoenas. And possibly a royal reckoning like we've never seen. Because if the accusations hold, if even half of Doria's confession checks out, Meghan Markle could be facing a financial scandal that doesn't just stain her reputation. It could destroy it. And what of the royal family? King Charles, humiliated. Prince William, reportedly livid behind the scenes. And the public? Tired of being fooled. This isn't just about stolen money. It's about trust. It's about a woman who once said she wanted peace, but may have been planning her payout all along. So where does it end? That depends on one thing.